we can see you on the big screen, and many people here are waiting to hear you. And we are very pleased to have you here with us. This is the Frontendistim community, the largest community in Israel of front-end developers.
Awesome. Very cool.
So my name is Parizian, and I think that in behalf of, okay, cool. No, I think that on behalf of everyone, thank you for all the tools you develop together with your team. I think everyone here has probably used one or more tool of your stack, the TanStack. And so really, really thank you for that. And we have some questions for you. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Fire away.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Wait, I'll start with my own questions. The people they want to ask you already questions. So first we want to just to meet you a little bit, hear about your story. How did you get started? What led you to TanStack? And what is your background?
Well, I've always been a nerd, but in high school, I was into film and video and audio and digital media. And I started going to school for that, for film. Um, and then I took a hiatus for 2 years. I served a mission for my church. It's the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I served that 2-year mission in Brazil. And then when I got back, I decided I wanted to be an audio engineer. So I studied audio engineering for 2 or 3 years. But the whole time I was paying for school by building websites, which is kind of weird. In hindsight, it's obvious. Eventually, I had a professor that told me I was an idiot, and that I should just do software engineering. So I switched to software engineering, and before I could finish school, I got hired by a company full time as a VP of tech. And then I started my own company with some friends. It was called Nozzle, nozzle.io, and that's still there today. My friends are still running it. We built that and ran it for 10 years. And after 10 years, which was 2 years ago, I decided to go full time on TanStack because over the decade that I was working at Nozzle, I was the only front end engineer on the Nozzle team. And so I had to make up for the lack of a team by building open source software and using open source software to make myself look more productive. So I ended up building a lot of tools that we needed at Nozzle, and I just kind of open sourced them for fun. Turns out they were really important, and now that's what I'm doing full time.
Wow, nice. Clap.
And I'm really sorry if I sound hoarse. I've been sick for the last
Oh,
5 days. And
sorry to hear that. So thank you again for joining us. And get
today I've
well.
been feeling good. So
Thank you. We have a question from Shmuel, right? Go for it.
Why you choose this logo? What does it mean?
well, at first, the name TanStack was given to me as a begrudging nickname. If anybody knows who Sean Wang is, or Swix on the internet, he's the one who gave me the nickname of TanStack. And I did not like that because it's very egotistical, kind of a Linux kind of a vibe. I didn't really like that. But he kept telling people to call me that as a joke. And then one day I needed to rebrand all of my tools outside of just React to be framework agnostic. So I needed a name, and I needed one that was really good for SEO. And unfortunately, I worked for an SEO company, and I was able to research TanStack, and it turns out there was zero competition for the name. So that's how the name came to be. I just kind of leaned into it, and it's working out. You can't really Google TanStack and not get TanStack, which is kind of nice. At one point, you could find a tanning lotion called TanStack, but I'm pretty sure I put them out of business in the first month or two. So at least there's that. The logo was a reverse engineer into the name. I didn't know what logo I should use. I figured instead of trying to make people think it's because it's my name, maybe I should play on the words a little bit and be like, oh, what if it's like a cute little beach chair and it's getting a tan in the sun? Um, and that kind of came about because I would say like the mantra for all my software is I wrote it all so that I could relax at work and that I could so that when I would go away and travel, because I like to travel and vacation with my family, that when I do that, I don't have to worry. And that kind of became the mantra for all the software is it's kind of like just relax, like the software is going to do its job correctly and you can chill. So I thought of the logo that would kind of embrace that and maybe play on the tan word a little bit. It is what it is.
We like it, and we like the story too. We all want to relax, right? Okay, cool. Next question. Anybody here wants to ask something in personal?
Okay, so I wanted to know what is your opinion about the fact that basically every Monday there is a new full stack framework. I mean, at some point, every time that a new framework is coming out, the first thing that I think is like, oh, not again. I mean, there are just too much frameworks, you know. So I was wondering, what do you think about the general idea, the general vibe in the community that there will always be a new framework starting from tomorrow?
You know, someone really smart once said that if you're not using a framework, you're creating your own. So I'd say that they're getting created more often than we think. And if you're using one, you're just making it stronger. But I think that it's okay and it's good that new frameworks are popping up all the time. Because in reality, less than a fraction of a percent of them stick around. I think that's a pretty steep drop off, actually. Um, and because I think the reason for that is because it takes a lot of staying power to realize the insanity that you have just bitten off building a framework. Um, to short answer your question, I don't think it's a problem that there are new frameworks all the time. It just means that the more frameworks you see, it means that there's some kind of unhappiness in the ecosystem with current tooling. And if there are not a lot of new frameworks, then it means everybody's happy. And anything can make people unhappy at any moment, whether that's uh, some existing framework makes a bad call, or new technology comes out, or new trends start to emerge like AI, or perhaps things just get complicated and people want to think about things differently. Or it could be that globally, user expectations change, or developer expectations change. I won't lie that I think TanStack has built a good name based on what developers like. And it's good for users. But I started another framework actually. Not a lot of people know this, but it was about 7 years ago, before SSR was really like a thing in Lambdas. And long-running servers were still kind of new. Not a lot of people were doing it. The hot thing was static site generation. And if you go back far enough, you would find Gatsby was king. And Next.js actually started as a static site generator. They had a static site generation utility. And I liked these and I didn't like them. I used them, I liked them, but then I didn't like them because I wanted more control. So I ended up building my own static site generation framework called React Static. And you can go look it up right now if you want. I gave it to somebody many years ago, but it was I mean, it was basically like, you know, a Next or a TanStack start or whatever, but just for static site generation. It was like a Gatsby competitor. And I started it and I started pumping it and everybody seemed to like it. And then I realized that Gatsby went and raised $30 million and Next.js went and raised $30 million and hired a bunch of developers. And then I realized how much work it takes to build a framework on your own. And also the technology to build frameworks wasn't that mature back then. You had to do a lot of things on your own. So I threw in the towel. And so I've already been through the cycle of, oh, I have a new framework and it's dead. And it was literally like within a year, I just said, no, I'm good. So I get the sentiment, you know, that it's like, oh, there's new frameworks, but I'd also like to reframe it. It's like, are there really new frameworks every Monday? There's really not. I think if everybody actually tried to name all of the meta frameworks that they would actually consider using, you probably wouldn't get more than a couple of fingers. So I think that's really the biggest concern is if we had 20 or 30 main contenders, then I think we would have a problem. But it seems like survival of the fittest is in our favor here. And I wouldn't be worried if you see new frameworks coming out. There's going to be another one next week. There's going to be another one that's like, oh, we really like TanStack Start the way that it did things, and we're going to do our own thing like it, but change everything. You're going to see all that. But so much of it comes down to just like the long tail investment you have to put into it. For reference, I started building TanStack Router 5 years ago, and we launched it 2.5 years ago. And Start has been in progress for 2 years. So it takes a long time to build something new that's actually different and not just a copycat. Yeah. That's a long answer, if you didn't know.
It was really long. We don't have any more questions for you. Just answered everything. No, I'm kidding. Actually, we like the competition, and I think as well as you, as there are not so many good frameworks out there. But I will go with that and ask you one question from the community. What led you to TanStack, and really how it differs from other frameworks like React Router? When I saw your lecture on React Conf, which was great, it was really similar. The API was really, really similar. Use loaded data, and everything was really pretty much the same. And I know you mentioned like your client first, which was the main difference. But then I saw in the API that you need to disable the SSR. So I'm not really sure. Is it really client first? Or so what's the difference?
It is client first. So if anyone's familiar with the way that SSR worked in the early days, is we would just render whatever's going to be on the page. We would render that on the server. Didn't even stream at the time. We would just send it down, and then we would hydrate it. Once it got to the document, we would hydrate it for the user into a React app, and then that was it. In the early days, there was, you know, at that point, you would just make your fetch calls and your API calls using Redux or whatever to your API that you had to develop in a different, you know, in like a raw node thing and distribute on its own. And so this is actually a lot closer to those early days of how SSR worked like at an ecosystem level is we just SSR that first page and send down the HTML to, you know, it's for SEO and for speed and for streaming if you have some weird things you want to do with streaming. But once TanStack Start hydrates, it tries and succeeds mostly at behaving just like a standard SPA would, where if you need data, you go back to the server for JSON, and you have your components and your templates with you, and you lazy load them in, which is a pretty it's a pretty drastic departure from Next.js, which is definitely server first, where you're going back to the server constantly to produce HTML. And Remix and React Router kind of sit in the middle. They can be both. A lot of React Router's APIs are more comfortable as server-first APIs. For instance, the loader API in React Router and Remix is a server API. When you specify something in the loader, that's going to happen on the server. So they've designed for you to go back to the server to do things. And that includes navigations. You know, they want the routing experience goes back to the server to know, hey, can I navigate to the next page or not? And that's probably the biggest differentiator. So with TanStack Start, we don't need to go back to the server to know if we can navigate to the next page because we have all the routing, we have everything we need on the client to go to the next route. Now, it may not be ready to show because it might rely on some server-side data through a server function or an API call or whatever, right? It doesn't really matter in that regard. But at least we know we can navigate there and we can start that transaction. And the patterns and the API design decisions that we've made are just more in line with SPAs than they are with server first. So we're very, very far on the client side first of the spectrum. And if you've built SPAs in the last decade, that's probably what you're familiar with. That's what I was. Like I didn't even use SSR on my main application ever. It was behind an auth wall. So it's like just Vite and a router, you know. And so if you've ever done that, moving to something like TanStack Start is like, oh, cool. It's exactly the same. Now I just have SSR capabilities and server functions.
Nice. Thank you. We don't have much time left, and I want to ask you a question I think everyone is interested to know your take. So a question from the community. How do you think AI will affect us as front-end developers?
It's already affecting us, isn't it? I think everybody has already felt the way that it's affecting them. We're being not forced, but we're being compelled to use AI to move faster, especially faster than our competitors or our peers, or just faster than because we want to go faster, you know, because we're impatient people. And I think that we could sit here and speculate how it's going to change things, but really, if we look at how it's already changed things, it's already done a lot. Even for me, I just downloaded Cursor 2 and was playing with, you know, multi-agents on work trees and things, and I'm like, it doesn't feel like a fad. It definitely feels like we're in the early days of the .com kind of a vibe with AI. So things are going to settle. You know, not all of the ideas that we're seeing right now with AI are going to win out, but clearly the idea that it's going to change the way we do things forever has won. So I would say, you know, our responsibilities have just doubled. We still need to be the best engineers that we can. We still need to understand the ins and outs of everything because at the end of the day, you can't trust the AI to understand that for you. But at the same time, you need to know how to wield it to its greatest potential. Otherwise, you're going to get left in the dust. Or you're just not going to be as fulfilled as others who are using it. So a lot of people are seeing that, oh, the responsibilities have shifted from, oh, now I don't have to worry about this. I can just use AI. That's not the way to approach it. The way to approach it is you had to worry about it before, and you still have to worry about it. And the fact that you can just use AI to shortcut and do it faster means you should know the ins and outs of these systems even more. The fact that you can go faster means that the slightest turn of the steering wheel is going to send you 10 times further in the wrong direction if that AI is unchecked. So we need to be better engineers and smarter about software and security and architecture if we're going to wield the fire. You know what I mean? So that's how I approach it. And I'm not jumping whole into it. I don't use it to write my library code. I don't use it to write a lot of things, but some things I do. I'm easing into it with the things I can trust it for and that I can trust myself to use it for, right? Could you imagine if I just went and created a new TanStack library and I was like, I vibe coded this whole thing? That's pretty scary.
Okay, cool. We have a question from Guy.
Hi, Tanner. First of all, I must say I'm a huge fan of your work. I told my wife, like, this is a huge meeting for me, and Tanner is like the Jenifer Lopez of frontend, and then she said, like, what's frontend? And so I'll tell you what, from my experience on your tools, okay, the most prominent thing is the ease, or like the natural way of the developer experience. And what I want to ask you is how you decide, how do you come up with such patterns that are really like, let's say, comfortable to use, as opposed to some competitors, which I won't mention, right? And this is one question. And another one I have, if you may, is like, how do you manage to handle so much like open source and PRs and the community? So that's it. Thank you.
So API design, I honestly think a lot of it comes from just empathy. I'm actually a pretty normal engineer. I'm lazy. I want to be as efficient as possible. I want to get done with work as fast as I can. I want to be with my family. I want to play games. I want to travel. I don't have time to waste with mental gymnastics. And I really don't like things that are complex just to look cool or just to, it's like open source Olympics. Like, I'm not here for that. I spent 10 years trying to build an actual product, and every minute that I didn't ship something to my actual users, my company would, sink further down. And the more we could ship, the better off we were. And so I knew that a vast majority of developer tools out there are just not really very pragmatic. They don't respect developers' times very much. The reality is that every single one of you has, or hopefully has, a job. And that job is to build something that's going to solve a problem, and you need to do that as fast as possible and ship it. And we could all be kumbaya about, oh, we love open source and tools and blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, that's what matters to you, because that's how you're going to make money and care for your family or your friends or your needs or the things you want to do. And I'm the same way. And that's how I approach API design. It's just no nonsense. Like, if they're like, give me the fastest way to success possible. And then understand that no API is perfect. So as long as you can peel back the layers of an API until there's nothing left, and to customize everything and give back as much control as you can to the user if they want it. Those are the two design principles I have for building APIs. Is majority of the time you don't want full control. You just want to ship. So that's the 90% use case. And then 10% of the time you want full control. And so we're going to give it to you. I don't know. That's just that's how I built query and table. And okay, now to answer the second part. Actually, I wonder if I can share my screen. I think I can. Share. Yay. Manage it all? Well, I don't. I don't manage it all. I have really great people that help me do it. So let's do this. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Every single one of these people had, started from nothing in inside of the TanStack organization. And they showed me that they cared deeply about what I was building, and they cared deeply about the community. And I wouldn't have been able to do, like, TanStack Query would not keep existing without Dominic. He is TanStack Query now. Same thing with Form and Corbin. Manuel is honestly carrying a lot of the router project right now. I think he might even know more about it than I do at this point. And Kevin with Table. And Jack is just an AI monster. He knows everything about AI, and he's building Create TS Router app. And, all of these people bring their very specific skills to the table. Kyle Matthews is building TanStack DB. Alan's doing dev tools. All of these people are how we ship. And that's really what TanStack is about. It's cool, but it's also unfortunate that my name is part of the company, because it's more than just me now. It has been for a long time. And I very begrudgingly take a lot of the praise for the hard work that these individuals are putting in literally right now. I could show you my Discord, and it's just off, going crazy. All of our back channels. We have 12 maintainer channels. No, even more than that.
Wow.
Everyone is just constantly pouring their heart and souls into these projects, and even ones that aren't even released yet. You guys don't even know about yet. So yeah, I'm really happy that, TanStack's being successful, but I never really want anybody to try and give me too much credit here.
Thank you. I know we have the time with you is left, but if it's possible to ask you two more questions.
Yeah, I don't have a hard cap on time, so I can sit
Okay.
as long as you guys
Okay,
want.
so we have all night.
Sure.
Well, according to what you said, you have a lot of products we don't know about. So one of the question here is, what is the roadmap for 2026?
Well, there's a lot of people working on a lot of things right now. So I'm working on Start, trying to get that to 1.0, and we're really close. Once that's at 1.0, we'll be following it up probably quickly with our React Server component solution, which is going to be wild. It's so simple that people are going to be like, they're going to be like, what? What do you mean? It might even be weird for a second, but we're really excited about it. So server component solution, the most I could tease about that is that for a vast majority of use cases for server components, you'll only need a server function. You won't even need to use client or use server ever, unless you really want to.
Wow.
So that's one thing that we're working on. We have a new library that we're building. It's a really big one. A lot of people are involved. There's a lot of work going into it. I don't really want to say much other than that, but a vast majority of you are probably using a competitor to this library. And it's a good one. It's a good library out there. Everybody, uses it, but it's probably out there because it's the only one. And everybody just kind of uses it because that's just what's there. So we're going to come in hopefully with the TanStack ethos and tenets and say, here's amazing type safety, amazing developer experience, amazing team behind it, and show people another option. So yeah, I'll let you guys decide what you think that library is, but it's going to be fun. It'll be a good one, and it's going to be a big, long effort too. So you'll probably see the first alpha of this project come out in the next couple months. Hopefully sooner than that. I don't want to say like weeks because I don't actually know, but yeah, and it's going to be exciting.
Wow. We're curious now. Okay, cool. What is your take about React, and specifically everything is going on with React 19 and all the new hooks and directives and everything's going on with Next. Like, what do you think about the future of React?
I think React is great. It's fine. I still like it and I still use it. The ecosystem is powerful. It might have a lot of all this new stuff. Next.js is making more directives, and I don't think React is necessarily it was a bad call to go with use server or use client. It was the best choice they had at the time, I think, and it might still be. But I think the reality is that most of us, the way that most of us are or should be using React, we don't really need to worry a whole lot about all these new fancy things a whole lot. All these kind of fringe features. The bulk of what I love React for is just the component model. The hooks model is fine. It's much better than class components. Don't listen to anybody that tells you otherwise. It's not perfect. Use effect is hard, but that's why we built tools like React Query. Yeah, I just think that it's going to be difficult to get away from React, but at the same time, people may just have cabin fever a little bit. I do a little bit too. Like I love Solid. Solid is just the coolest thing on the planet. Signals are way cool. I talk with Ryan Carniotto all the time. And a lot of other libraries are cool too. Like Vue is just kind of this silent workhorse that's just always going and growing little by little. And Svelte to me is just kind of weird. But I love that it exists. And yeah, and there's people like Remix who are just trying to reset everything. And at the end of the day, I am a pragmatist. If I'm going to go start a new project tomorrow, if I don't want it to go anywhere, I don't care what happens to it. Sure, I'll go pick, some random framework that interests me that I want to try. But if I'm starting a business tomorrow and I need to make money and I want to solve some people's problems, I'll probably pick React.
Right.
And if I couldn't pick React, I would pick something close second. I would pick like a Solid. Because we just need to get stuff done. And just because they're launching and releasing a bunch of new stuff, doesn't mean doesn't mean you have to use it until it's been, um, assimilated into the ecosystem and been extremely normalized. Like I love the stuff that they're doing. The React core team are doing great things for React. There's also other things that I would love to see from React that I don't know if we ever will. I'd like it to get smaller. React looks pretty good sitting over there in the corner at 4 kilobytes. And I would, as a library author, I want more things to happen around advanced state management things, but it's what we have. And it's going to be difficult to rip that away from AI too. So the more you lean into AI, the more you're going to be like, oh, React is good. So we've created our own problem. Just like the timing of AI plus React, it's just kind of like, well, okay. I don't necessarily think that means React is the last framework or how long that will last. But for the time being, it's kind of the best well-rounded solution.
Cool. Cheers to that. Before we wrap up, I have a final question, but before we wrap up, unless someone here wants to ask something. So it just you want to ask something? No? People here ask, you didn't mention the other framework, Angular. It's like not mentioning Cristiano Ronaldo with Messi, so we ignored it. What do you think about Angular?
I used to be an Angular developer. Did you know that?
Really?
Yeah, so I learned front end through Ionic and Angular 1.x. At one point, my business card said Angular Wizard. It was made by my coworkers, not me. But it did say that. I loved Angular, but I just I know a lot of people who build in Angular, And most of the people I know who use Angular are not using it because they chose it. They're using it because their company chose it, or somebody high up said we need to use Angular. And if given the chance to change, most of them, I think, would be interested in that. Or they would just change companies and not have to care about it anymore. Angular has come a long way, though. Like they have made some changes over the last 2 years that are really big, especially around signals,
Right.
making it easier to use like JSX and build libraries for it. Like we have Angular query and Angular virtual and things of that nature. So Angular has come a long way. It's definitely redeemed some of its kind of doom, but I don't think it's anywhere close to coming back as a favorite, in my opinion. Um, People are like, would you do Angular router? And I'm like, if somebody else wants to do that, then great. I invite Brandon Roberts. If anybody knows who Brandon Roberts is, he wrote Analog. Analog 2.0 just came out, by the way. Very cool. So yeah, I think that's about as exciting as I can get about Angular, though, is that it's cool that he did it analog, which is like a Nuxt for Angular. But other than that, yeah, I'm a big fan of like the modularity and the extensibility of basically all of the other ecosystems. And Angular and kind of Svelte a little bit and a little bit of Quick. Those are the ones for me that are like, oh, that's really difficult to plug into those ecosystems and do and build expansive extensions inside of there unless you're just kind of all in on them. So it's not super attractive to me, but I realize that it's an important piece of technology for a lot of people. It was for me at one point too.
Okay, cool. So just to mention, I want to say a big thank you to our host before we wrap up. So we host here by Connectim, which is an Israeli startup. So all this setup here is we have the pleasure to have the option to ask you questions like that, and it wouldn't be without them. And second of all, I think I didn't introduce myself. So my name is Neil. I'm the CEO of Anfitek, and together we have this lovely community of front-end developers. Part of the community is my YouTube. So if you can subscribe to my YouTube, I would appreciate it. We will upload the video over there. But anyway, the final question and the most important one is, when do we see you here in Israel in one of our meetups?
Oh man, I'm traveled out right now. I was away from home for 3 weeks over the last few months, and my family just missed me too much. I probably won't be traveling again for a while, but I was thinking that looking around the room, I was like, man, I wish I was there because I would so much rather just rub shoulders with everybody and chat and hang out instead of do this. So yeah, let's talk about it. Um, I won't lie, for most Americans, the thought of traveling to Israel is kind of a scary thought. So, uh, yeah, it just kind of depends when and how much energy I have. Uh, as you can tell, I traveled a little too much, which is probably why I got sick. So I'm going to be taking it easy for the next couple of months, but yeah, there's a possibility that in 2026 we could arrange something like that.
Sure, we love that. And we
Yeah.
pay for everything, right? So don't worry about it. Thank you again, Tanner. We are all huge fans. Big claps for Tanner Linsley.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Wait, we couldn't
So,
hear you.
helping me feel better.
Oh yeah, get better, and hope to see you soon here or in another talk.
All right. If anybody wants to chat more or ask more questions, they can jump into my Discord and DM me,
Great.
whatever they want. So
Thank you
unless
very
it's
much.
mean, no mean questions.